Hello everyone, my name is Eric and welcome to Tapped and Attacking. Today we venture out of Magic the Gathering Arena to instead go ahead and go on deckstats.com to show a deck list I've recently been working on for Drana, the Last Bloodchief, which is one of the new legendaries in Zendikar Rising. So, what this deck basically does is, if we go over the commander real quick, we see that whenever she attacks, the defending player chooses a non-legendary creature from your graveyard and you get it back with a 1/1 counter on it, and it becomes a vampire. So, using that, we can use that to abuse the enter the battlefield effect system in the game and just make as many good ETBs as possible. So we're gonna go ahead and go through every card and basically explain how this is going to work. That's how this is gonna go. So for the lands, we are running a total of 34 lands, being 27 swamps, followed by Urborg to Yawgmoth, making all your other land swamps. She's a Death Storehouse just to make it harder for Drana to be blocked by giving her fear, making it so it can only be blocked by the black creatures or artifacts. Phyrexian Tower, we can use that for sacrificing creatures so we can get our ETB from Drana. We have Nixos, that's just good in any monocolored deck for Devotion. We have Cryptic Vagadim, depending on how many creatures are in our graveyard, that can be very useful later on. And then we have, of course, Cabal Coffers and Cabal Stronghold to ramp out as much as possible with the amount of swamps we have. So that's pretty simple, so let's go ahead and move on to some of these spells. So we have Elixir of Immortality. This is basically just a backup in case our graveyard gets a little too full and our library is looking pretty empty and we're going to get milled out. It's a last-ditch effort, more or less, just to reshuffle everything back in. We have Erebos Intervention. So this is a way of very quickly either dealing with other players' graveyards or also getting rid of a creature and getting a little bit of life gain. We have Soul Ring. Every deck has Soul Ring, obviously. We get for some extra mana rep. Witch's Oven. We can use that to sacrifice creatures and get other creatures, and make food tokens, or possibly 2 food tokens to get some extra life gain, as well as put things into our graveyard to get them out. Alter Dimension kind of has the same idea, however, instead it revolves around a mill strategy. You can either choose to mill yourself to get more targets in your graveyard, or you can mill players and try to just mill out their library completely. We have Black Sun Zenith, which is one of our very good board wipes in this deck, because since we're going to be getting our stuff back majority of the time, board wiping doesn't affect us as badly, and having one that's able to just shuffle back into the library repeatedly is very good. Damnable Pact, that is some good card draw, and that's honestly all it's for. Losing life is a little bit but it's commanders, 40 life, that's not too much of a problem. We have a few different tutors in the deck. I'm just going to go over them real quick, just going through them. We have Demonic Tutor, Grim Tutor, and there should be one more, Diabolic Tutor. I believe that's it for the tutors, yes. Those are just to look for certain cards, depending on the situation you're in. We have Forever Young. Forever Young is very good here, because what you can do is, when this trigger goes in the stack of Drana attacking, you can go ahead and cast Forever Young and put every creature you have except for one on the top of your library and then draw a card. That way, no matter which ones your opponents want to pick, they're forced to pick one certain target, which some of the targets we're going to be getting into are very good picks, and it'd be annoying for them to come back. Jet Medallion, making black spells cost 1 less to cast. Of course, very important, especially in a monocolor deck. We have some ways of giving our commander protection, such as Lightning Greaves, Swiftfoot Boots, and Darksteel Plate, giving them either hexproof or indestructible, or shroud, depending. Shronic Resonator, being able to copy the ability of grabbing things from your graveyard. That is extremely good, which we have another card that will be doing that as well, which we'll get into shortly. We have a few different effects of just returning X-target creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, in case, Drana disappears and you want to just make sure we get a bunch out at once. We have things like Entreat the Dead, as well as, you can find it here real quick, Rise to the Dark Realms. And we also have Lifeline, which we'll get into in a minute, because I find that card very interesting. We have another one of those sack outlets for getting things to our graveyard, but also being able to get mana out of it with Phyrexian Altar. We have Phyrexian Arena, some extra card draw. We have Sudden Spoiling. This is really good for either if we're swinging out for Fatal or if an opponent's swinging at us for Fatal, because that way we can make it so all of them become 0/2s and we can just block their whole board, or we can go ahead and make all their things 0/2s while we're swinging, making it so we can get through. Wisp Silk Cloak, once again, a way of getting Drana to have some protection, as well as not being able to be blocked, which makes it very easy for her thing to trigger. Damnation, another board wipe. Lithoform Engine is the other card I was talking about, which is also from the new set, which I love this card so much. It is just so good. Being able to copy their activated abilities, triggered abilities, spells, or permanents is an amazing thing to have. And being able to combo that with the Shronic Resonator is great. Panoramicon, all of the ETBs we have in this deck when it comes to creatures or artifacts will be doubled. We don't have that many artifact ETBs, but most of our creatures do. We have Dictative Erebos, so whenever a creature we control dies, each opponent has to sacrifice a creature, which a lot of the time our creatures will be dying, whether it be sacking them or them being killed. So that's definitely helpful. We have Guild Los for extra ramp. Lifeline, so whenever a creature is put into a graveyard and a creature is in play, you can return that creature from the graveyard to play at the end of the turn. So this is just a way to cheat out and basically sack a bunch of your board except for like one creature close to your end step, and then flicker them all back in for a bunch of ETB effects. I find that to be really broken and a really cool thing in the deck. So moving on next, we have Minion Reflector, which is whenever a non-token creature comes in, you may pay 2 mana. If you do, put a copy of it, exile at the end step. Or I'd rather not exile, sacrifice it at the end. So what we can do with that is, for starters, we don't really have to sacrifice it at the end step. We could always sacrifice it with one of our sacrificing engines to get a little bit of value out of it. And it also makes tokens that are copies of, some of our creatures that have good ETB effects, which can definitely combo off. We have Yawgmoth's Vile Offering, being able to kill a creature as well as returning a creature or planeswalker from a graveyard on the battlefield in case, you have something important in somebody else's graveyard you want to grab. Caged Sun, of course, choosing black, that way you can just double your mana as well as making your creatures a little more beefy. Peer into the Abyss was an interesting include. I wasn't sure if I was going to put it in here or not, but it works honestly both ways. You can either deal a lot of damage to somebody else and make them draw half their deck, or if you want to take that risk, you can draw half your deck, lose half your life, and then ditch a bunch of things into your graveyard to hopefully get back. And then last we have Ingaruk's Wake, which is just, again, another board wipe, just hitting planeswalkers as well as creatures, all of which you don't control, which is quite nice. Now we go into the main of the deck, which is the creatures and why some of them are important. So Cauldron Familiar, of course, the Witches of Cauldron Familiar combo, for those who are unaware, was a thing that was in Standard for a while. In fact, it technically still is, where you would just sacrifice the cat to the Witch's Oven, and then sacrifice the food to return Cauldron Familiar back to the battlefield, and just spam flicker Cauldron Familiar as much as physically possible. It was very annoying. And it didn't stick around for honestly that long because better things just came out. People still played it in Jund Sacrifice, of course, but it's still a fun combo to have and definitely annoying for your enemies. We have Hex Parasite, which is mainly just there to get rid of planeswalkers or things with a lot of counters on it, more than it was the graveyard strategy, just some extra control in the deck per se. So we have Next Stitch Supplier, which is milling yourself for 3 whenever it either dies or comes into the battlefield, which will definitely put some fuel in our graveyard with some of the creatures that we have. Viscera Seer, a great sack outlet that lets you scry 1. We run both Blood Artist and Zelport Cutthroat for the same reason, because we're going to be losing our creatures a lot and getting them back, which will be making us gain quite a bit of life and making opponents lose quite a bit of life. We have Yarok's Fenlurker, which is going to hit opponents' graveyards. Even if it's just once per, it's still some graveyard control, which is very nice. We have Burnished Heart to spam sacrifice to go look for up 2 basic lands from the battlefield, so it just gets rid of most of the lands in the deck as much as we can. Next we have Midnight Reaper, with most of our cards being non-tokens, and most of them being able to die and come back. That is a good way to draw most of our deck. We have Vito, Thorn of the Dust Rose. This is one of the only 2 other legendaries in this deck, because of course we were only able to grab non-legendary copies. So Vito, he's just really good with him being printed in M21. It's a good combo with the whole Exquisite Blood and Sanguine Bond. But neither of those are really needed in this deck. I just like this one because you gain quite a bit of life off the Blood Artist and the Cutthroat, as well as being able to just ping people and give all your creatures lifelink. It's just a really good card. Next we have Kryptgast, which we just do to double the mana in our deck is the main thing. Make it easier to tap. We have Disciple of Bolas, which makes it so when it's battlefield, sacrificing our creature, and we gain X life and draw X cards, where X is his power. We definitely have some huge creatures in this deck that are going to be coming up that have some strong power and toughnesses, so that'll definitely be a lot of and a lot of drawing cards, especially since we can bounce them back. Gravedigger, that's just to grab other creatures back to your hand if you want to grab multiples at once. Nightmare Shepherd is like a last-ditch effort to try and keep your creature, of course, because you have to exile it, but if you do, you create a token that's still a copy of it. We have Solemn Circulation, which is the same strategy as the Burnished Heart up here, where it's just to get a bunch of lands and draw cards out of it. We have Cavalier of Night, which is able to sacrifice one of your own creatures to put something in your graveyard, make an opponent sacrifice a creature, or rather, you destroy one of their creatures, and then when he dies, you return something from mana cost 3 or less back from your battlefield, so it's a lot of recursion that you can just juggle. Next, we have Great Merchant of Azrael. We have a lot of different mana costs here of like 1 or 2 and whatnot, so being able to bounce Great Merchant and gain life and make your opponents lose life, that definitely hurts. So if you're able to just bounce that repeatedly, that can end games very easily. Phyrexian Delver, whenever you enter the battlefield, turn a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. You lose life equals to convert mana cost. You're able to just grab another creature back from whichever list you want, or whichever is in your graveyard. It's very good. We have Shriek Maw. We're able to juggle the murder stack by just evoking and then bringing it back if it dies. Bring it back, rinse and repeat. Seer Conrad is the other legendary in this deck, which basically stacks on the idea of the Zolporth Cutthroat and the Blood Artist, where we're able to make things enter and leave the graveyard, which will just ping people for a bunch. And we're also able to mill everyone's libraries, including our own, which will definitely fuel ours up. Duplicant is both for control, being able to remove a creature just immediately since it's on exile, so we can get rid of Indestructible. And it just basically makes it a copy of that creature in terms of power and toughness, so you can definitely hit a big target with that, and you can keep on exiling opponent's creatures. Next we have Great Titan, which is a good ETB and attack trigger that puts two zombies on the battlefield every time, so being able to bounce him and then swing with them and just make a bunch of zombies is always great. Massacre Worm, if you have a way of playing him, sacking him, and then getting him back on the next turn, that's giving all creatures -4/-4 on the enemy side, and that kills a lot of things, so it should be able to ping for a lot, seeing how it's 2 per creature that kills. That definitely hits hard, and being able to bounce it is a very useful strategy. Noxious Gearhulk, being able to just randomly destroy a target creature and gaining life equal to its toughness, and just being able to bounce that, same idea as the Shriek Maw, it's really good. Patron of the Vein is the same idea, being able to bounce and destroy creatures, however it also gets bigger for the more creatures we kill. Wormcoil Engine, we can keep on sacking it and bringing it back to keep on getting 3/3 tokens, which is always very nice. Next we have Abhorrent Overlord, which is putting a bunch of 1/1 Black Harpies on the battlefield equal to your devotion, and then having to sack one creature every upkeep. You could sacrifice the tokens you make, or you can go ahead and sacrifice creatures you want to go ahead and bounce again. We have Butcher of Malakir, which makes so whenever another creature you control dies, same thing as Dictative Erebos, basically, just having another trigger of that. And we're on to the last 4 cards. We have Overseer of the Dam, which when it comes in, destroy target creature, and then whenever non-token creature your opponent controls dies, you make a 2/2 black zombie creature token, which is, once again, being able to kill as many creatures as you can, and fill up the board with more tokens. Runescar Demon is a very important card in this deck, because you can just juggle Tutors, which is amazing that you can do that. And then the last 2 cards we have is Sepulchral Primordial, which is able to bring back things from opponents' graveyards, and just bounce that to steal a bunch of them. And then last we have Baleful Force, which is just a Phyrexian Arena on everyone's upkeep for you. Being able to draw cards, it's just very good. I personally like this deck list. It's not perfect by any means, but it's definitely able to get stuff done. And I do plan on building it eventually. I currently have 4 commander decks in real life, which I do actually plan on going over in the future videos. So that's a little bit of the deck tech of what it's supposed to do. And once I'm able to get to the cards, I will definitely show some gameplay of it. But with that being said, this was the deck tech of it. And thank you all for watching.